Okay, it is 7 o'clock, so can I welcome everyone to this meeting, the September meeting of the FAS committee. Are there any apologies? I think there's just Jonathan, isn't there? Well, everyone else is here anyway, so there's just Jonathan. Are there any declarations of interest? No. We'll move on then to the minutes of the last meeting. Has anyone any comments or questions about the minutes, or would someone like to move and second them?
Just a quick question. Can we have, they're not on the agenda for tonight, but is there an update on number 10 and number 16? Hopefully 16 is progressing well. Hopefully 10 is too.
Yeah, item 10, we have got staff who will actually work. So yeah, we are going to go ahead with that. And what was the other one?
16.
Yeah, we have got a new tenant taking over, but we're still in the lease is still being prepared.
Those in favour? Thank you. Public forum. There's no members of the public present, and there are none logged on online, are there? No. Well, there's no one asked to speak, has there? No. So moving on then, exclusion of the public. It's just the last item, which is item 12, which has to be taken in private at the end. So moving on from there, item 7, financial update.
A couple of questions for you. Just progress on the town hall roof. That's one of our big budget items, obviously, about half the budget. So any updates on that one?
Unfortunately, obviously, because we've been busy with the Blues Festival, I haven't had a chance to follow it up. I did speak with our insurers though, because we are up for renewal next March, and he's advised us to get revaluations on all our properties for that, obviously just to ensure that we are insured for the right amounts. He said a lot of councils have come a cropper because they've not been properly insured. So yeah.
Okay. Second one was just a couple of lines up there. CCTV. Take it, we've got some sort of payments here as well.
We have. We at the moment we are having problems with our contractor in that we're not getting much response from them. We initially had a meeting with our account manager who'd actually, when we stated that we weren't happy with the service that we were getting, when cameras were down, we were reporting them, but we were constantly being charged call out fees, but yet nothing, they didn't get to the bottom of what the problem was. So obviously we'd complained about that. So they did say they were going to knock some money off the contract for us. At the moment, we haven't paid anything. But they said that they were going to do a full review of the system and obviously the cameras that we have and the tech that we have to see if it was that was causing the problems. And we're still waiting for that to happen. We've chased them on various occasions, especially since we had cameras down at Primark Community Centre when we needed them. And in other cases, we've had cameras down sort of midtown when we've needed them. So they know we're not happy, but our account manager says now it's out of his remit. So the managing director was going to contact us, but as yet we haven't heard anything. So it's been a bit of a nightmare. Well, you would think so, yeah. I just want a working system.
Howard?
Yeah, thank you. I was going to raise it under item, whatever it is, for to go on a future agenda, and I think we do need to have a proper investigation of the whole kit and caboodle. I was here on, was it the last Sunday night of the? It was either the Saturday or the Sunday night of the Blues when they came in to. The policeman came in to look at the CCTV of something outside the town hall, and it, for whatever reason, the thing wasn't there. So when the system hasn't been in more than about half a dozen years, I would have thought. So why there is a need to look at the cameras and the system and everything. I believe that when it was decided to go with the standalone system as opposed to the borough system, which, as I understand it, operates in Barnoldswick and Nelson and other bits, that the system was an all singing, all dancing, super duper, wonderful, the best in the world. Well, obviously it isn't, or else we wouldn't be having these problems with it. So I think we need a proper review of, particularly if they're going to come back and say, oh, yeah, we found out what it is. There's now been a new upgrade and it doesn't work on this and the software and everything. I think we will need to look at it properly and again, see whether it is worth joining in with the 24-hour monitored system that there is. All right, yeah, it's the hub of it is in Preston, Blackburn, but at least it's 24 hours, 7 days a week, and as far as I'm aware, it doesn't break down as often as ours does. So if we can have that on a future agenda.
From a conversation I had with the police commissioner, it sounds as if the system that they have at Blackburn is far better than ours. I know it has been changed, so maybe originally it wasn't, but now it is better than ours. And I think if we can integrate with that one, then it's gonna help everybody basically, because if it's monitored continually, obviously we don't have the time to do that. It obviously saves us officers time in trawling through the CCTV to try and find things. The majority of requests that we do get are from the police, so we don't really get many insurance, because obviously there's a charge for an insurance company if they want CCTV footage. We don't get many insurance claims at all, so it's not earning us any particular income. So
I saw something today that said that they've just negotiated a new contract with, can't remember, the people to man it and everything for the next 2 years, with the possibility of that being increased, continuing on a firm 2 years with an option to go to 4 if everybody agreed with it.
As far as I'm aware, it's the transmission side of it that's the problem, not the cameras. As far as I'm aware, I think the cameras are working and giving good pictures, but it's just not transmitting, is it? That's the impression I've got from talking to them anyway.
I think it's this, the signals are getting blocked somewhere, but we've tried to get them to look into it to find out obviously where is it going wrong, where's and then say, oh, you need new cameras. And we don't need new cameras, just put new cameras in. You must be something, but we're just getting fobbed off all the time. Yeah. That's what we're trying to do. It's just we're not getting through to anyone.
Look,
I mean,
the,
us rather.
the cameras are good, but what it can be a problem, particularly with a Wi-Fi type one, which is how this works, is if you've got someone else at the same frequency, you've got problems, haven't you? And I think that's what's happened, because it's happened, fairly recently. It's just they're all dropping out all over the place, aren't they? And I think someone else's equipment somewhere is interfering with it. Someone else has gone on that bandwidth. But you're right, we need to get them here, and they need to be told they've got to come, rather than keep getting fobbed off like this. So is that a course of action for that? We want them here. Yeah, right.
Final question on the numbers from me. Just looking at the balance sheet, all fairly boring in terms of there's the cash and there's the reserves, but debtor collection, everything going all right? Debt collection?
As far as I'm aware, to be honest, I haven't had a chance to look at the full list recently. Obviously, we've been with the Blues taking over everything.
Yeah. Is anyone seconding them? Okay, those in favour? Thank you. Item 8, skate park. Now, to me, this is not a total disaster, but it just hasn't worked how it should have done, really. And I'll throw my 2 pence in first, and then if everyone wants, they can all argue with me after. There's been rumours about for some time now that Pendle were going to go ahead with this skate park, but until what would it be, about 6 weeks ago, we were contacted by Phil Rowley from Pendle, and he wanted to come and see us, and he met with myself and Gina, and when he came here, he was under the impression that everything was all hunky-dory, everything was all sorted out, and the thing was going ahead, and he was of the impression that we were paying for it all. Now, we hadn't at that stage been shown a plan of what they intended to do. We hadn't been told what they expected us to pay, a contribution towards it. And he went away from that meeting. It was quite a long meeting, a long discussion about it, didn't we? And he went away and he said, within a couple of days, I'll get you all the plans and all the costings so that you have something to look at. Well, he didn't get back to us in 2 days. He got back to us in more like 4 weeks. And we still haven't got the costings, and we still haven't got a proper plan. So it's a case of the information not coming forward from Pendle, and I can't blame anyone other than Pendle Council, because that's where it's originated from. And they seem to think that the impression they gave us was that they had £11,000 which was sparing a pot of money, which is from what was the mugger that was down there. They moved up to Alkin Courts, and that was all the money that Pendle said they had to put into the pot towards it, which the costings are roughly, we have found out since, about 100, I think it's about 170,000, isn't it, per cost of the total project.
It says 135.
135, and it has to be, they're going to try and get some funding for it, maybe from Sport England or wherever, but it'll have to be 50% funded. So they gave us the impression, rightly or wrongly, that if they got match funding for half of it and they put their 11,000 in, there would be a considerable amount for a shortfall that they were expecting us to top it up with. Because 135, if you call it for a quick figure, call it 140, that's 70,000, we're 11 grand off. We'd have to find 59 grand of match funding. And then they're expecting us to take all the ongoing costs on as well and take it over. Well, the last thing they passed on to us was Alpine Courts Park. And some of you remember us taking that over. And we were told initially that the cost to maintain the park for a year was between 40 to 50,000 pounds, about. So we took it on and we got the tenders for getting the work done. And the tender that came in from Pendle Council for doing the work was more than twice what they told us it was going to cost to run park. So I just don't trust their figures. And what I would rather do, you'll all decide what you want to do, but what I would rather do is not have any deal that is open-ended where we don't know what we're paying, which is some sort of an anomaly where it'll be whatever it costs. If we're going to make an arrangement with them, I would rather have a fixed arrangement where we can say we will contribute so much per year to it, end up, then we know what our costs are. And that's all I've got to say, and I'll bring in whoever wants to comment.
So it did come to Cone Area, and we thought, well, and somebody said there is this pot of money, and we know from a few people who've spoken to us over the years that this was sounding like a good idea. Lots of enthusiasm around it. People were thinking, where can they get on bikes? Where can they get on skateboards and all that thing? And the Olympics, of course, people looked good doing it, and it was really fun and games to do it, and it was going to be a wonderful attraction. So we said, well, look, investigate what's possible. I said, if it's a piece of land in Cone, it's not owned by Boundary Mill, it's not owned by Lloyd's. It keeps calling it Bowker in here, rather bizarrely. Therefore, it's potentially one of those things that if it all comes together, it could be transferred to Cone Town Council, who could maintain it for a certain amount of money, as you say. Now, I'm confused by this paper because it's a bit random. For a start, it's dated November 21. So it's like
that's all we've got off.
So it's like, where's it been for a start? Anyway,
I think, is that not the report that went to area committee?
I think it is.
We mentioned an area committee on that September, but yeah, I had a discussion with Phil Ryan, and said, look, so this is how you need to describe it. I sort of coached the meeting. And obviously the meeting.
Sorry, Dave, I'm not.
Obviously the meeting didn't seem to go fantastically well because, as you say, there's a load of facts and figures missing. I think the way I read this is, if you look in recommendation 3, it talks about there's funding providers, potentially Sport England and Lancashire Environment Fund. Now they have money and they're willing to invest in sort of projects like this. SEAG has just got a grant from Lancashire Environment Fund as well. So we didn't have to put any match funding into it, apart from potentially a small contribution towards the environmental recycling bit, which is 10% of the grant. But then what they've done now is they waived that. So I think the key phrase as well, it says an element of match funding. It doesn't mean 50-50, because obviously that would be an unsustainable amount. You know, there's no way we want to pay that much. Clearly, the recommended solution is the concrete one, because it's lower maintenance. It's also less noise as well, apparently. You know, if you're skating around on a prefab thing, it's a hell of a racket. Whereas the concrete one is harder wearing, more durable and silent. So I think it's one of those ones whereby Town Council agrees to provide an annual sum. Now, in my mind, when we discussed it at Cone Area, I thought to myself, well, the Town Council could go for a sort of a limited fixed amount of, say, up to 10 grand a year. And that will be a fixed sum within our sort of community development or playground type things. I believe the ones in Suff and Barnoldswick and Burnley are all pretty popular. And obviously we're sort of stuck in the middle there. It's definitely something that SEAG would promote for sure, because we've got lots of people on bikes. They do a little bit with Go Velo, and then it's time to, you know, put your skills to practice and have some fun at the same time. So I think provided this paper is revisited and things are much clearer, then I would definitely support it. I agree with your comment there in paragraph 10, where it talks about once it's all done, then by the way, environmental services will be the ones to maintain it. And I thought, well, no, it's not. It's a bit like the Alkincoats Park one, as you say. If we're going to be doing the annual maintenance contribution, etc., then we should also do the annual maintenance. We take it over and do it much more efficiently and probably cheaper as well. So I think that's my 2 pence on it.
Howard.
Yeah, I'm slightly confused because although it talks about a wheel park, there is already a what do they call it, bump park or something down just off Barrowford Park, where BMX people do their riding round and tricks and what have you. And the other thing that the pictures show and talk only about skateboards. Not that I'm an expert in such things, but I think, you know, Pendle are trying to do a bit of a fast one here, because the parks in Barnoldswick and Earby, as far as I understand it, were done under the auspices of Pendle. You know, I don't think Earby Town Council did theirs, and I'm fairly sure Barnoldswick didn't do theirs, as that's been there for quite some time. We've got to be careful that we're not being used to provide something for the whole of Pendle, and if it is for a wider use like that, the range of funders for it should be a bit wider than just the town council. And I think there are other things that if we were looking to spend 50 or 60,000 pounds, we could find perhaps some things that were more acceptable is the wrong word, but of a higher priority than a skate park with a couple of things on it. Because as I said, there is the bump park or whatever it's called. So down at Swindon, you've got the Stephen Burke track, which if you just want to ride ordinarily or practice learning to ride, if you are a keen 6-year-old, as I know to my cost, you can do that. Or if you want to go up and down over the bumps, and I think I'm sure I've seen talk of skateboarding round bits of it, or round the bumping or whatever. So, you know, I think on the part of Pendle or you know, whoever's in charge of in inverted commas leisure things at Pendle, you know, what to look at what the existing provisions are, rather than, oh, this is a good idea because we haven't got one. Now, certainly, if it's shown that one here would be a good idea and could be done at a reasonable cost to us, and certainly, you know, not 50,000-60,000, no way. But that the fact that you know, David said up to 10,000, I think that's, you know, a reasonable thing, and I think, you know, a time limit of 5 to 10 years would. I mean, I don't know how long I don't know whether they wear out or what have you, but I don't think we can give an open-ended commitment to it. But if there is still no idea of whether they've got grants or grants are available, you know, the date on here is, it's not, I was going to it's not far off 12 months now, is it? So, you know, I wonder just how serious the people at Pendle are about it. But I think as presented to us now, I don't think we can say yes. I think we can leave the door open by saying if you can come and show that you've got grant support for it, you know, we're prepared to discuss figures of up to hopefully less than 10,000, but up to that for maintenance of it. So I think that's all we can do at this stage. And you know, just the way Pendle in the past have voiced, you know, we still don't own the allotments that they said 12 months ago they were going to transfer, and it was, you know, is that, well, it's just, I wonder how they're going to transfer them now without Philip Marsdale, but anyway.
Ryan.
MX and cyclists. So, but and then I thought, I looked at the pictures, and the pictures seem to just indicate, as I would say, just skateboards. But I wouldn't like to see. Well, I'd like to see a better plan and better idea of actually what they want to put on there, because I think it possibly it should be just skateboards. Because if you start mixing BMXs with people on skateboards, they have to be in separate areas, really. You know, I wouldn't like to see a cyclist knocking down a skateboarder. So I think we do need to go back to them and see exactly what they are proposing.
Well, I think from the ones that have spoken, did you want to come in, Emma? Yeah, no. I think from the ones who have spoken, I don't think we are a million miles away from thinking along similar lines to each other. Because David mentioned the 10 grand, which coincidentally, it's a similar figure to what myself and Gina came up with when we had a discussion about it. There's also the scenario with the allotments, and we told them last year we wouldn't take anything else on until they transferred the allotments, and that's 12 months since. And it's now 12 years this month since we took on the allotments, and they have only transferred one. And they were told a year ago we wanted them all transferring or we wouldn't take anything else on, and they've done absolutely nothing. So what I would propose myself is that we say we are not in a position to contribute to the capital initial costs of it, but we would be open to negotiations for the ongoing maintenance of it and keeping it running over X number of years. Whether we need to put a number in or whether it's just open-ended, I don't know.
So we just say to be reviewed.
To be reviewed, yeah. But I think it needs a proviso from my point of view. None of you might agree, I don't know. I think it needs a proviso on the end of it that no negotiations will take place until they've transferred the allotments. End of. We told them a year since and they've done absolutely nothing. They have. They've transferred one allotment. So I would put a proviso on the end of it that we want the allotments transferring that they should have transferred 12 years ago and they haven't. And that would be a condition of any further negotiations with it.
It's called the carrot and stick approach. And sometimes you need the stick to whack the donkey around the head so it knows where the carrot is.
And now I think we need, now I think we're needing a bigger stick. So that's my proposal.
think I tend to be more carrot driven in life, actually. But I think when I discussed transfer of assets and services with Philip, it would have been 6 months ago or so, because again, we were looking at what the plans would be in terms of revisiting that. And I did mention about the allotments, and he just rolled his eyes, as he always does, never got around to doing anything, and of course said, well, they are using them anyway. So legal transfer, he's sort of drawing the difference between explicit transfer and implied transfer. So
No, we took them on
but-
12 years ago on the understanding and on the condition that they would transfer the freehold of the allotment land to us, and they haven't.
yeah, no, I agree. I think they're obviously going to recruit a replacement for the corporate director role, and we will make sure that tidying up these things and putting appropriate rockets up legal departments' bottoms is done. Because it's silly, isn't it? You're right. It's just a thing that's on the things to do list that's always at the bottom.
See, it's sad really with Pendle Council that we've had to come to this and say to them, we won't do any other business with you unless you do it. And you've been doing it for 12 years and got nowhere. And I think it's sad that we're having to put that pressure on them. It just shows how useless Pendle Council currently are.
I think in terms of the design of it, by the way, you mentioned about different users. I think from memory, there were some various proposals drawn up. I think it was somebody in Chorlton had a big draw up of an enormous sort of wheel park generally, and they were looking at bikes, I think, primarily. But obviously, it's now broadened to any sort of wheel. So I think if you've got a design that's right, and maybe, you know, if 2 or 3 cyclists are on it, then a skateboarder is not going to dare to go on it, are they? And vice versa, probably. So yeah, but I think as part of the public consultation, there's bound to be ideas of what do you want to see in it, how do you protect it, when should it be used, etc.
I think the area that they're looking at is pretty limited as well, and there are residential area around there. So you need to look at the available space and what's going to be best to put there, rather than saying, oh, we want a wheels, you know, it's whatever you can, you know, has to be appropriate for the area.
There's some bedroom windows not very far off it because they're at the lower level of the houses at bottom of Rigby Street. Without really admitting, I might be the oldest mountain biker on the block in Pendle. I have a mountain bike of my own. I go out on it whenever I can. And I do have a concern about this because, you know, Brian mentioned skateboards, BMXs, and mountain bikes are even bigger. And it's quite obvious with someone on a skateboard that can be sort of down at knee height because they get right down. You could do quite a lot of damage on a mountain bike to someone on a skateboard. And I'm not sure they mix. There might be ways around it, I don't know, but I am not sure they mix like that because you could do a lot of damage with a mountain bike to someone who's sort of knelt down on a skateboard.
There'll be arguments of skateboard will say we can never get on it because BMX are always on it. BMX will say
Well, yeah.
we can't get on it because the skateboarders are always on it. So the design needs to be, and some of the ones that the BMX people do on it, they're very high obstacles, walls, whatever they are. So
Emma?
Oops. No, I was just going to say it's most of the time the kids, practically every single kid that I know, teenager wise, have a skateboard. It's the big trend now, and it's not just skateboards, it's the roller, what do you call them? Roller blades. It's not the roller blades, it's the long ones, you know, the long ones, and that's what they all use. The bikes mainly all go to power forward, and they do. And the only BMXs that now use the stunt ones, which they're smaller. So all it is now, they're half the size of a normal mountain bike. So you can actually mix skateboards with the BMX.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what they're all into now because they're all following, what's that famous skateboarder? Tony Hawk's, yeah, because they're all wearing his clothes. So to me, it's probably not big. That's what I'm trying to say. It's probably not as big as it sounds.
But it would have to be restricted to whatever will safely mix, wouldn't it? Yeah, right. So are we moving anything and seconding anything and coming to a decision what we're going to do?
I think all we can say back to them is we haven't got the wherewithal to chip into the capital cost of it, but subject to proper negotiations and seeing what the layout is and estimated maintenance costs, we're prepared to go up to £10,000 per annum to be revisited after 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, I think we should do that.
You could word it as up to 5,000.
Well, yeah, up to
10,000, come on,
up to 10,000. Yeah. So
Yes.
did I say 5? I meant 10.
Yeah.
I was thinking of 5 years and 10,000.
We're providing intelligence, but ours is focused on once it's done.
Yeah. So basically what we're saying is, if they were to get the thing built and funded, built and up and running, that we would contribute. And if that ran, even if it only ran for 5 years and then it were reviewed, that'd be 50,000 we would have put in, which is nearly 5 times as much as Spendle's going to be putting into it.
Yeah.
So I don't think they can really shout at us. So who's moving that? Howard's moving. Is someone seconding it? David, those in favour? Thank you.
It might need a bit of putting into English.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's more or less what we discussed. Well, it was yesterday, weren't it? After your holidays.
Yeah.
Item 9, town hall maintenance.
You will notice that the clock is not operational at the moment. We had earlier on in the week, well, actually it was yesterday morning that we noticed a lot of banging. So one of the lensmen went to look and there's something wrong with one of the chains. So we turned it off, obviously, just to save it. And we've got someone hopefully coming the end of this week to look at it. But on the phone, he did seem to think that the chains apparently can stretch, and it's not a big problem. So hopefully, yes.
I remember some months ago, Jonathan Nixon mentioned somebody else that did clocks, antique clocks or town hall type clocks. Are we, because it seems funny that they spent such a lot of time on it and say it was sorted, and now are saying that the chain might have stretched. I mean, the problem is none of it, we need to get dear old Clem Tansey on a Ouija board and ask him what the problem might be, because he'd probably know, but that's part of the problem, that we've lost all the history and the people that used to put the pennies on it and what have you.
Yeah, but they would have been doing it when it was in quite good condition. It's now quite old. So I think obviously you've got your wear and tear and everything else that goes into that. Plus, I think it did make a difference when he took it all apart and cleaned it all and put it back, as in difference in weight, difference in size. I don't know. Everything makes a difference to it. Even the weather, the temperature. So they are very temperamental, I think. But hopefully we'll have it up and running.
When they came to it before, and it was quite expensive, the bulk of that work was to do with the auto winders, because when Clem did it, it only had a 12-hour wind on it, and 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, Clem used to have to come into this building twice a day and dash upstairs and wind it up at morning, and then go dash upstairs and wind it up again at bedtime, so that it were kept running. And a lot of the problem was with the auto winders that they had to change. But prior to that, they did have to change 2 gears on it. But however many times they'll have gone round in 130 odd years, I don't know, but they don't last forever, do they? The good point is that at least now, twice a day until it's repaired, it will be showing right time.
You take a picture of it.
So hopefully, if they are going to have to come back to it and sort the chains out, we could tell them to sort it out so that it keeps
Time.
the right time, because you're supposed to adjust it by, the old pennies from olden days, early 1970s. Well, you keep putting a couple of them on to extra weight on the weight, and eventually you get the balance just right and it keeps the right time. Well, I don't think we've any more pennies left to put on, have we? Because Nathan keeps putting extra pennies on and making a blind bit of difference. And all this is since it's been cleaned.
I think there's a couple of pound coins on it now.
Well, it might have altered weight, mightn't it? Or balance of it, in some way. And that needs sorting. It's no good losing 10 minutes every 2 weeks. So it wants sorting anyway. So we might as well get that done at the same time. Maybe we need a down hole clock Quasimodo to keep winding it up for us or something like that. So when he does come, will you ask him to sort out the timing of it as well?
I will. I was planning on doing that anyway.
Yeah. Is there anything else on town hall maintenance?
The only other thing is, if it's classed as town hall maintenance, it's not. It's part of the one of the properties on Newmarket Street, which has the dry rot issue. We have had one quote back, which is
Don't say how much it is, because we're going to ask for 2 more quotes.
no, it's quite quite a lot of money. So what we decided is, because of the value of that, we will get 2 other quotes just to see, but it could be the money's not in the budget, so we will have to look at where we want to take the money from. Other than that, I think town hall wise, we're still waiting for a quote for a window in the committee room. So I'll chase that one up. But other than that, I think at the moment we've finished the other 2 rooms. They've all got carpets in and yeah. So yeah, hopefully we won't get any. Yeah, touch wood.
There was nothing to move, is there? It's just really to note it, isn't it, for that one? I'm moving on to item 10, item for a future month's agenda.
Yep.
Yeah. We're going to get the CCTV guy to come and talk to us, aren't we?
I'm gonna try.
When they come, is there anyone on FES committee has a wish to be here and be involved in it.
We just have to ask him, and then if people can come, they can come. If not, not.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because
Yeah.
the way they appear to be mucking about, it's probably better to pin him down rather than, well, you can't come then because Emma's on holiday or Brian's sunning himself somewhere. Or
So shall we leave it that when when Gina has got a fixed date and time for him coming, she will inform members of the committee, and if any of you want to sit in, you're quite welcome to do. Yeah, and do it that way. If somebody can come, they can, and if they can't, well, it's okay anyway, isn't it? But we might get a bit further with him if we bend his ear a little bit. And I can't think of anything else that wants to go on. Well, there is another meeting as well, no, next Tuesday, which is the only thing on the agenda is the tenders. And I don't think there's anything else that's an absolute emergency to need to go on there, is there? I don't think so. I think we just leave it with tenders. So the date and time of the next regular meeting is on the 4th of October. So can we now exclude the public and switch off the live streaming?